'Cause I'm yours to keep if you want to.
So I'm from Bismarck, North Dakota. That's where I was born.
No way. Even I didn't know that.
I think I've told you, but I was like, don't tell anybody. So I was born in Bismarck, and then we quickly moved away from Bismarck, and I actually lived in Barrington, Rhode Island for 1 year.
So how old were you when you moved from Bismarck?
1.
You remember anything?
No.
Okay. You remember anything when you moved to Rhode Island?
I remember like one thing in Rhode Island, like playing with our dog Muffin.
Huh.
That's about it.
Do you have like the actual memory from it, or is it like you see a picture and you're like, oh, I remember that? Because I'm always
the actual memory, yeah, is just like walking down the driveway. I think I don't know how I remember that. I was like 1.5 or 2 or something,
That's
so
nuts.
I was barely, I remember stuff from when I was 2. Do you?
No, not at all.
Really?
My first memory is probably somewhere closer to like 6.
No shit.
Yeah, I have a really weird memory.
Is that normal? Or
I don't think so. I honestly don't
most
know.
people have memories, or am I crazy? Do most people have memories till, like at least 2 or 3? I thought like 2 or 3 was when you start retaining.
I mean, I've had
I don't
people
know.
answer
I would
that
love
question
to look this up.
differently, but I've only really been able to ask people like 5 people so far, so I don't have a whole lot of data to go back on. But it's interesting, I find that
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, like first memory, just to see what people's
Well, I
actual
could be
age
like
was.
lying to myself. Maybe I created this memory or something. Maybe it was all happy, and then my life was just super dark. So I made this happy memory of me and a dog. I should probably ask my brother and sister if there was a dog named Muffin, but I don't know. These are all things I'm pondering as we're talking. So maybe clip this part out. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
All right, so you lived in Rhode Island
For a year, and then we moved to Minneapolis, and that's where I grew up until I moved to Chicago.
Okay, so what was it like when you were growing up in Minneapolis? You were 2-3 years old till what age when you moved to Chicago?
It's 18.
Oh, okay, so you really whole life grew up there.
I grew up in Minneapolis. Barrington and Bismarck were not part of my life as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I was just too young, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you still have family in North Dakota?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Lots of family in Nodak, and then from
the DAC? From the NODAC?
Nodak, North Dakota.
Yeah, no, I picked that up after. It took me like 5 seconds.
There you
but
go.
It did process.
Yeah, and no, not everybody in Minneapolis sounds like the movie Fargo, or North Dakota, but some of them do. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, no, and then I lived in Minneapolis, and then actually, weirdly enough, most of my older family is moving out to Minneapolis right now. So, like my dad and all his brothers, they all moved to Minneapolis. They kind of just were like, shit, we should all be together. It's kind of great. So.
That's awesome. Is that I'm assuming that's mostly influenced by COVID and people just kind of reconnecting on like a family level? Like, do you think that would have happened had COVID not been a factor?
No, I think it was mostly my grandma who eventually moved from North Dakota to Minnesota, and then she passed away there, and I think everybody just started levitating there because, I don't know. I think my Aunt Kathy was in Wisconsin. She was the only person there in Wisconsin. What?
It's just cool that everybody could levitate.
What did I say? Levitate? I meant gravitate.
It's pretty amazing that your family was the ones to discover levitation and travel. No, that's cool, man. That's cool. I mean, I love that. Like your family is getting together like that. Like that. I'm super appreciating all of that time with my family right now and trying to soak up as much of that shit as I can, because I do find it to be just really important, especially right now. Like I feel like everybody's just feeling like their own massive stressors, and whatever reason, it's nice to have that like support system. Hopefully your family feels like that as opposed to being more chaotic.
Oh, it's completely chaotic, but yeah, no, it's good. I'm so blessed to have the family I have.
So what was it like growing up there?
In Minneapolis?
Yeah.
It was cool. It was interesting. It was open. I got to ride my bike a lot. I basically, once I got like a freestyle bike, a dyno. I had a red dyno and that got stolen, and then I bought another one with like a gyro, so I could do tricks and stuff, and I can like bunny hop and stuff like that. So you rode too?
I rode mountain bikes.
Okay.
So I was like really big. My friends were really big into like downhill mountain biking, and like I did like freestyle stuff. Like I would see guys in like skate parks, and like we would do more like street riding where we'd be like on stairs, and I had friends who'd be like jumping staircases and shit like that.
Right.
Like jumping from like whatever. It could be like a 2 like 10 stairs or 15 stairs, a flat surface, and then another 15 stairs, and they'd like jump off the top set of stairs and land in the second set of stairs.
Oh,
because that's like, but on those kind of bikes, it's like built for that. You know what I mean? That's like your downward. It's better than honestly landing flat after all the stairs, because you don't have any kind of like actual angle to help guide you in. You know.
Right.
And then I had friends who were big into, and still like my like best friend from probably like 7 years old builds bike trails professionally and like builds these pump tracks and shit. It's really cool. Still does that, still rides bikes all throughout the summer. Another really close friend does the same thing with him. And we all grew up pretty much like biking throughout the whole summer. And that was that was a big thing for me. I fucking love it.
Biking's great, yeah. And as a kid, it's like a car. It's like freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So, we definitely did that, and we bike around town. Minneapolis is pretty spread out, so... and then, yes, there's the lakes. So, like, once I was able to drive, one of the coolest things to do was to just drive around the lakes with your friends and, you know, probably smoke a little pot, listen to rap music, you know, stuff like that. So that was a lot of my, you know, childhood, you know, sports. I did a lot of sports up until high school, and then I played football and I jammed my finger. It swelled up to the size of a cucumber. And then I went to my coach and I was like, you know, if it's guitar or football, like I'm going to choose guitar. So.
And now, interesting.
And that's kind of when I quit sports, and I was full. And then all my high school friends, I was a sophomore, and all my high school friends were like cheering me on playing guitar. So it was cool. I actually peaked in 6th grade. It's been downhill ever since. But, and any of my friends from school would know that, because I won the 6th grade talent show by playing Eric Clapton, Tears in Heaven. I sang and played guitar in 6th grade and won the talent show with a group of girls that booty danced to a MC Hammer song. So,
yeah. I mean, I guess that's
the same. I mean, we both deserved it, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they even considered me, because they were doing good.
That's a deep song to play.
I know, and I didn't even. You know, the funny thing is, I think it came out at the start of that year, and then it was popular. And then I guess everybody like dug it, you know, even little kid, you know, what I did, I was 12 or 11. You know, and I was like, this is the shit.
Yeah, my dad played that album, and that was probably my favorite song.
Such a good album.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids like us were really into that, because it was just like, dang, every track on here is really good.
Really good.
And that's one of the only albums in history where the live album, I don't even think they did a studio version of that. It just became the recording. Like you can hear him saying, all right, now let's get it started, or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember listening to that 1,000 times, practicing it.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about. So luckily that's what I did. I won the talent show. And then I basically, was like, well, music's the shit. And I think girls like it. So I should probably keep pursuing this, you know. And it just gave me a feeling. It made me feel high without getting high.
Yeah.
So that's the moment I was like, oh, this is the shit. And I actually went to an arts high school. And that changed my life. Because I was getting into trouble at the normal high school. And I honestly, like, literally saved my life. I probably would have, you know, drunken driving or something stupid. But I literally went to arts high school per my counselor at the time. I had a counselor because my parents were like, I think they caught me smoking weed or something. So they were like, treatment or a counselor. And I was like, oh, a counselor. You know? So
easy choice.
And she was awesome. And she pointed me. She was like, you got to check out the school. And she took me one day instead of a counseling session. And I fell in love. I was like, oh, my God, I got to go here. And the interview was the coolest thing ever. When I interviewed for it, we walked in and they were like, you're going to start out in a group interview. And we're like, all right. They're like 5 other students with me. And they go, what instruments do you play? And we all said it. I said guitar. And then they go, okay. And we all had our instruments with us. And they go, move one instrument to the right. This was the interview. And I was in front of the piano. And they were like, all right, now everybody play together. And it was crazy. So I was like, this is the coolest shit ever. And that's where I learned how to make beats. My senior project was to record in Pro Tools. So that was cool. Yeah, and that's what I did. I recorded a mandolin in Pro Tools, and he was like, you get an A. No other student has ever done this in history. Literally, he said that because
it was new.
They just bought it. It was the 001s or whatever.
Wow, yeah.
So that's what I did, and I also recorded to ADAT. I recorded my senior album to ADAT tapes. Do you know what ADAT tapes are?
Yeah. So
we had 3 of them and a Soundcraft Ghost.
Yeah.
Which, weirdly fucking enough, I'm teaching that class right now at LA Film School. Okay, thanks, God.
Life in full circle.
So, pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I own one. So it's pretty interesting, but that's how I did it. And I burnt my mix to CD, and I had to I had to do all the effects manually. So all the vocal throws and verses, I'm the shit because I echo, right? I had to do all the throws. Yeah. So why did the single have like 8 rappers? They all, oh my God. I had to like write it down. I had a sheet. It was the funniest thing. My teacher was laughing at me. He's like, you're working so hard right now. It's a performance to do the mix. And I was like, yeah, like that helped shape me though as a person, as a musician. And
interesting. Did you have like musical family members? Was that like anything that was influential for you playing guitar? Like what was the kind of original reason that a guitar landed in your hand?
My uncle.
Yeah?
Yeah. Definitely my uncle played guitar. He was pretty good at it. He would sing like San Francisco Bay blues. I think he played Leroy Brown and all these sweet songs, old songs. And he was kind of a ladies' man, so I was like, oh, okay, 2 and 2, like okay, this makes sense. And I just thought it was cool. He always looked cool. He was always one of the cooler uncles, and so ironically, thanks God, so I went on a trip with my nephew recently, and he's playing. I brought 2 guitars, and he's playing guitar, and he's getting good. You're getting good, Jacob. So he
good work, Jacob.
And Julian plays too, but he's set it down for a little bit. We'll let Julian take a little break. He's gonna come back, and then
get it together, buddy.
Jimmy, he's gonna be Jimmy Julian Hendrix. But I gave him my first guitar pedal because he just got an electric guitar. So I was like, here's my first guitar pedal.
Cool.
And it's the actual one. And I'm like, go to town. It's a Blues Driver, Boss Blues Driver.
Awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm
passing it on.
Well, I'm thinking this kid Jacob's going to be a superstar. So
sick.
I think that whole family, the Greens, oh my God, they're going to be very, very popular, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was like your first job when you were probably living back there? When you were in Minnesota?
Paper boy.
Yeah. How old were you?
Oh God, 11, 12?
Yeah.
No. I think the legal age was. No, I take that back. That's like child labor laws. My dad was nice. Like 13 or 14, I think. You could have a paper route legally without it being. You just had to have like one route or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, 13 or 14.
Is that you work for your dad doing that, or that was
no?
Okay, so he just was okay with you.
I remember the name. It was called the Sun Current. The Sun Current. It was like, oh God, what was our neighborhood called? Oh, my friends from home would hate me. They'd be like, it's blah blah blah. But I forget the neighborhood. But I grew up there. It was my dad's house. I didn't go to his house as much, in my defense. But it was called the Sun Current. Yeah, and then they would leave stacks on the corner. And then I would have to go pick them up and then, deliver them. And
did you like doing that?
I mean, there were dogs.
Yeah. So you got chased. That started your love for dogs at an early age.
Yeah. Actually, I think it was the first time I heard my dad cuss, like, really loudly in public was when we saw this dog. So, yeah. No, but it was cool. Actually, so my dad did it with me. He said it was a way to spend time with me. My dad's sweet. He would do anything to spend time with me. So
that's awesome, man.
He did a shitty paper route with me just to spend time with me, and we weren't even together. We just drove there and drove home. But no, dad's sweet. Couldn't ask for a better one. But he got in a car accident once. And this is funny because we were doing the paper route together, and he didn't show up. He didn't come back to our meeting point. I'm, oh shit, where's dad? And there's no cell phones. We don't have Twitter. Yeah. So I come around a corner and I see the car in the middle of the street and another person. And I'm like, oh shit, you guys okay? And I'm young. And I walk up and they're both standing there. It's a woman and my dad. And I'm like, well, whose fault was it? My dad's like, and it wasn't my dad's fault. He was just embarrassed because the woman,
yeah,
that's a really fucked up thing to say. Like as a, and I know I was a kid.
Accident. Yeah.
Yeah. And then have someone come up and be like, whose fault was it though? Yeah. And you're both like, well, shit, they backed up. Well, he went forward.
Yeah.
So, but kind of interesting. Everybody was okay. It was like a fender bender, but I just thought it was funny that I had zero clue. And I'm just like, whoa. I don't think they liked that. The woman didn't. My dad was super awkward, but not a big deal. So that was kind of interesting. So that's probably one of my first jobs.
Nice. You remember what you did after that?
Bagged groceries.
Yeah?
Yep.
Did you like that better? Or
at Lund's.
Yeah?
I got to smoke cigarettes on my breaks.
Huh. Interesting. How old were you?
7th grade, maybe. So I was like 14 or something. 15.
I've still never smoked a cigarette.
Oh, man, you're missing out. It's good shit.
Yeah, never. Not even
I'm
like
kidding.
A puff.
I don't smoke. Yeah, well, like a Newport will get you high if you smoke it, right? Well, you've smoked blunts.
Yeah, I have.
So you've had tobacco.
No, I have
but
for
you've
sure.
Never had a cigarette.
I've never like intentionally been like, oh, cool, this is a cigarette from a pack. And
does your brother smoke?
I've never seen him smoke. Okay. I mean, he was doing like nightclub stuff here for a long time, so I imagine like occasionally it would be like a thing. But I would be surprised. I've never asked him if he's ever bought like a pack of cigarettes to actually like smoke personally. I don't think so though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. First time I smoked a cigarette, my mom would smoke around the house. Not in the house, outside, thank God. Or else I would have gone in on her, like, what the hell? But she smoked these nasty Benson and Hedges cigarettes. They're like long ones.
Okay.
Disgusting. I know. And I never touched them, like never smoked them. So I had my friends come over, Ricky and Larry, the twins. They were a bad influence on everyone. But they were awesome. Hey, Ricky and Larry, these guys are cool. So they came over and they would steal my mom's cigarettes. Like, and I'd be like, yeah, grab a couple. I don't give a shit. And if mom would say anything, I'd be like, yeah, my friend stole them. Don't leave your cigarettes in the house. Like, I would tell her that, like, keep them in your room, Yeah. But, because Ricky and Larry are going to come over. I would tell her, I'd be like, Ricky and Larry are coming over. Put those bean hedges away. So one day, it's really funny because that was later on. But as a kid, I think this is the reason why I hated the Benson and Hedges is because she would smoke these So when I was a kid, I went to a party like with my mom. I was real young. I was like 10 or something. She just brought me to her friend's house, and they were partying, you know, having some drinks. I think it was poker night. They were like playing cards or something, you know. And then she's like, you can just walk home. I'll be home soon. You just watch a movie or something like that. And I was old enough to do it. So I go home, and then she left her cigarettes out. And I was like, well, I know Mom's not going to be home for a little while. So I went in the alley for some reason, and I railed 2 cigarettes back to back.
Oh, no.
Yep. And I got freaking high. Like the highest I've ever been. I've never smoked at that point, but I smoked anything. So I'm super high. And then I go inside, and I'm like feeling it. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, this is cigarettes, right? And then I put on Jimi Hendrix. I think it was, oh, yeah, I'm standing next to a mountain, right? And I was, because I puked everywhere. I was standing next to a mountain of puke. Yeah, I got so sick. I
bet.
And then I didn't smoke for a while until it was like later. So I was young when I think I did that. I must have been like 5th or 6th grade. So I was a kid, and I was just like, and I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, definitely didn't, you know, want to smoke.
Yeah.
For a while after that.
I can imagine. That sounds horrible. And then, so you were bagging groceries there, and then what was next stop?
Oh, what job?
Yeah.
Occupation, bagging groceries. And then anybody from Minnesota or Minneapolis would know this, the malt shop.
Yeah.
And I worked my way up. I started at Disher.
Yep.
And that was soda jerk. Made malts. And then you
Malt's
tap that
delicious.
malt on the side of the wall, and then it would drip out. You do this little thing, whipped cream. So then, and then I was a cook. And then I was head cook for like this Friday night once.
Okay.
Like I was head cook once or twice, like head cook.
Yeah, and it was busy.
And then I fucked that shit up. Won't talk about that on camera. No, you know what actually happened to me while I was working there? This is messed up. It was the first snow of the winter. The first snow. And I was working one night, and I was cooking. And we would bump rap tapes. Hard rap tapes. Mostly cannabis. The wrapper. And we would it was me. I was friends with all the cooks and stuff, and we were smoking a little pot and stuff like that. But one night this is a story about how weed saved my life. So we cleaned up the kitchen, and then we were like, all right, so are we gonna dump the fryer grease and do this other shit now, or are we gonna go get high? And my friend's like, we're gonna go get high. And I was like, okay. So we went and got high, and then we came back upstairs, and then I dumped the fryer grease. Remember, it's the first snow of the winter. So I walk outside. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was snowing while we were inside for 8 hours, right? So I walk outside, first foot on the floor.
Oh, shit.
Fryer grease all over me.
Oh,
Neck
shit.
down.
No way.
Yep. Thank God we went and got high, because it was hot as shit, right? And I stripped down in the middle of the alley down to my boxers, and to the point where my socks were burning my feet because I had fryer oil all over me. And it cooled down. I was burnt. My whole body was burnt. It wasn't bad at all, because we went and got high and the fryer grease cooled down.
Damn.
So we were lucky. Think if I would have done that right away. I just turned it off. I think generally you give it like 5 minutes to cool down. You're like, all right, I got to go. Let's dump the fryer grease. And if anybody knows anything about cooking, you don't dump the fryer grease every night. You dump it I guess the malt shop, and this may be like, now they're going to get like a health code violation. Sorry, guys. But they would do it like once a week, and that fryer grease would be like black by the end of the week, right? But that's what it was. It was the end of the week black fryer grease. So that's what I dumped all over myself. But I was really lucky, and and the manager was like, "Oh my God, you okay? You want to get an ambulance?" I was like, "I'm fine, it's all right." And so it was okay, and they kept me on for a couple more months, and then they fired me.
That must have scared the shit out of your manager.
Oh yeah, no, that's why they couldn't fire me for a little while, because they were like, if we fire him, he might come back with, you know, something about the accident.
Yeah,
because it was on property, and so that was interesting. But yeah, so head cook there, and then what after that? I was a valet at Calhoun Beach Club.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Parked cars. I parked the famous car of, oh man, what's his name? He was He was a newscaster in Minneapolis, and everybody knows him. Damn, I can't think of his name. But he has a brother, I think, out here. But anyway, Paul Majors.
Nothing.
You should know Paul Majors, God damn it. Everybody, Paul Majors. Well, anyways, I parked his car. And
nice.
then there was, it's not like his car was that famous, but it was fun. I got to drive some BMWs and shit. I did wreck one car.
Nice.
One car, guys. Out of like, we're talking like, I know I sound like Will Ferrell in the campaign. He's like 10% of the calls are crude out of 100,000. That's only 10,000 bad calls. You know what I'm saying? So that's not good though. But yeah. So that was fun. Actually, valeting was fun. I did that with my buddies, and we ran for cars. So I got a lot of exercise, and then I got to drive fucking cool cars. So
yeah.
You get tips. You can smoke grass.
A fan of cars, like as a kid? Is that like a thing
Yeah.
you're into?
Yeah, I mean, the 90s were the shit. I had 2 cars. That was so awesome. I had a Cadillac 1987 sedan DeVille 4-door.
Sweet.
Yep, awesome. Armstrong would love that shit. And then another one was I had a Chrysler Cordoba 1981 Corinthian leather. So you know Ricardo Montalban, the actor. I don't know. He's in a couple famous. He's old. He passed away, but very famous guy. He had a commercial about my car, and he'd say "rich Corinthian leather." So a lot of our parents and stuff would know. Your parents would probably know that commercial.
I'm
if you said "rich Corinthian leather," they'd be like Ricardo Montalban. You know, but. So I had that car, and it was kind of epic. All my friends knew me for that. It was a cream colored, and it was a V8. It was a big. I mean, I was into those old cars. Girls in high school used to snicker at me, and I was like, "Yo, what is wrong with driving a car from 10 years ago?" And I still do that now, 20 years. But, you know, and plus, it's just got swag. It's got style.
For sure. That sounds badass to me.
No, it was fun. I used to drive those types of cars in high school and stuff like that.
Okay. And then when was like the transition to starting to put together some form of like studio equipment? Was that all the way into Chicago, or were you already starting to do that?
No, I did that in my bedroom.
Yeah.
I used my mom's pantyhose as a pop filter.
Nice.
In a coat hanger.
Sorry.
No, I recorded on like a Roland 1608 digital recorder that you put CDs in and would record your tracks.
Is that something that you researched and went out and bought? Family had that? What was the way you like came into possession of that, and how did things kind of start building from there?
I borrowed that. The first thing I recorded on was a cassette 4-track.
Okay.
Actually, the first thing I recorded on is something like that cassette player back there. It was a boombox, and I recorded my friends when they would come in my room when I was like 8, 9 years old. My mom let me borrow a boombox, and I wish I had the tapes, because I used to press record when I'd hear the doorbell of my friends, and then I'd go get them, and I'd bring them in my room. And I would just laugh, and they'd be like, "What's so funny?" I'd be like, "You're fucking recorded right now." And they're like, "What?" They wouldn't even know. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, so I was so into it.
Yeah.
That's when I first and I never realized that until I got older. I was like, "Oh shit, I was recording like on the tape." I was like, "This is cool." So, and the other way I knew I loved it was when we took our summerly trip to Grandma's cabin at Lake Sakakawea in North Dakota, and it's like an 11-hour drive, And it was me, my sister, my brother, my dad, and my stepmom. And I had the Casio. I don't know. Someone might know. It's a sampler. And I completely pissed off my sister the whole ride. Like, Bridget's got a big old butt. Bridget's got a big old butt. Bridget's got a big old butt. And she would just lose her shit.
I'm sure.
And then until my dad would be like, put that thing away.
Yeah.
Or put headphones on, you know. And then I would do it, and then a couple hours would go by, and it'd be like, you know, just
being a kid.
Just being an ass.
Yeah.
So that was fun. So that was when I really, but essentially how did I get transition was the arts high. That's what really brought me, because I had to record as projects. It was part of my project to record, and record my band, because I was in a blues band in high school.
Okay.
And that's what I started. It was ensembles, and I had like the coolest people at my school. They just were super talented players, like jazz players and stuff.
Sure.
Like basically the guys I play with now and girls.
Yeah.
And they were really good. So we actually did a blues band where there was like 3 lead female vocalists, and they would take different turns on the verses and the choruses and stuff. It was a lot of fun. So that was like our band for junior and senior year. We kind of had like the blues. It was the blues ensemble basically. And we would like close out the show every time we had a performance. And like the parents were like, literally my uncles were there, and we played like Santana and like James Taylor and stuff.
Nice.
So old people were just freaking into it.
Sure.
Boomers.
That's cool. Do you enjoy, is that like kind of the first initial stage of like performing and feeling like kind of like a high from that in a way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's back when I was good at playing guitar. No, I'm kidding. But no, literally, it was great. It was such a good feeling, and yes, I wanted to chase that feeling.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then you finished the art school and moved to Chicago right after?
Right after, yeah.
Did you move with anybody else, or was it just you?
Just me. My sister was already in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
You live with her when you moved there, or you just no?
She lived down the street though. She said her neighborhood was nice and crime free, and yeah, I found an apartment there, and then later we found out it was Boys Town, which is fine, but it was just funny that she plopped me right in there without like
any kind of heads up.
No heads up, and the way I knew was, sorry, Dad. We went to a coffee shop at the corner, and we're getting a coffee, and my dad's like looking around. He's like, I think some of the guys around here are kind of weird. And I was like, oh my God. So then I knew, and I was in a very safe neighborhood. Yeah, it was great. No, it was Boys Town of Chicago. Actually, it's funny because my first mentor lived there. He lived in Boys Town. He always had like a place in Boys Town. It was so funny because he had all this studio equipment in a tiny apartment and a huge dog in Boys Town. And it's like, dude, like get yourself some space downtown or something. Like, what are you doing?
It was just like, was it more expensive? So it was kind of like,
it was super expensive too. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't not super expensive. It was just like, you live in Boys Town if you want to have like a studio apartment, you know? And so he eventually got like a loft area, but yeah. So yeah.
So when you moved to Chicago, was that to go right into college, or were you just moving there to live there?
Right into college.
And where were you going to college?
Columbia College, Chicago.
And that was for recording?
That was for sound engineering, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And did you go through the whole program?
Yep.
Nice. You learn a lot from it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then what was like, I guess, the start of what would then be like your professional career? Like, was that you met Rich there and Blended started, or was it met Chuck, or what was kind of like the origins of like you went to school and then?
Yeah, I actually met, it's funny because around that time I had met Rich, I had met Chuck English, I had met Brian Halliday, And actually, Brian brought me over to the 2 East 8th building, and that was the chill spot, basically. And that's where I saw Evan Chuck English there every day. Like, pretty much every day after school, we'd go there. And I met my good friend, I think, AB there. And it's kind of funny because we had this whole crew in college, and I don't think we ever stopped hanging together. And I mean, to this day, like, if I go to Chicago, I still hang with them. So we didn't even try to be that tight. We just all were very tight with one another.
And everybody was making music?
Most of us. Some of us wouldn't, but the people that weren't were, you know, the friends or the girlfriends, the boyfriends, and then like my buddies, a lot of drug dealers would smoke weed, sell weed,
sure.
You know, all that. And some of my buddies would cut hair. Funny story, I loaned Chuck English my Triton keyboard so he could, and he said he would give me a haircut. Right? And Chuck is, you know, and he used to cut hair a little bit, you know. It was just a hobby of his. It wasn't like he was, you know, barbershop or nothing. But
sure.
I think he's just good at cutting hair or whatever. But he cut mine. And then the next time he's like, can I borrow your Triton, give you a haircut? I was like, you can borrow my Triton. So I let him borrow the Triton then, but didn't need a haircut at that point. And it's funny because, yeah, it could have been my head. But anyways, but we had a healthy competition there, and I actually met this dude, Brian Holiday, who is the rapper What's His Face. And then we did a project together that never came out, and it was called JP and What's His Face. And we worked together for a while. That was kind of our thing. It's kind of, I learned a lot during that situation, and I don't know why, but homie never wanted to put it out. And I think I know now. It just wasn't the right. I don't think he was ready to do it. And that was one of the first times I realized that. And my heart was broken. I just wanted to put out this great music, and he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if you've ever felt that, Nick, but.
Oh, I have felt that, unfortunately, one too many times at this point.
Right.
It's pretty depressing.
Yep. So, but that community at 2 East 8th Street was the shit. And Chuck didn't even go to our school. He went to the Art Institute for design, I think, or videography. I think he used to work with cameras and stuff. So he was over with us all the time. And I think it was just him and a few other people from Art Institute. Otherwise, it was full Columbia crew. And there was like hip hop performances and stuff like that. I forget what it was called, but it was awesome at Columbia in the main building. There wasn't much of a campus, which is a huge bummer, but there was performances, and a lot of really talented people went to my school. So it was really cool. I had class with Lena Waithe, who's like one of the biggest TV producers and movie producers right now. And I tell my students all the time that I messed up and I didn't get her email. I didn't get her number.
Yeah.
And if so, now I'd be placing all this shit possibly, you know. And it's funny because me and Lena used to have healthy arguments about music business. Like, I'd be like, nah. And she'd be like, nah. And after school, I'd be like, you want to get a burger? And she'd be like, cool. Like, swear, like, it was so cool like that. It was good that we had the healthy. So it's funny. So if Lena, if you see this, I got some music for you.
Yeah, Lena. We really need your help, Lena. We really need your help. We got a lot of really good music, Lena.
Right.
No, that's cool, man. So what at that point was were you living on campus the whole time you were at school, and eventually what was like the origins of like the blender?
Oh, no, I never lived on campus. I always lived alone.
Okay.
Basically I was living on my own for a while after school, and I was interning at so many recording studios. Any recording studio I could work at, I'd intern at. And then I eventually went to Rax Tracks. Shout out Rax Tracks, is a great place. And I Rick Barnes, the owner, was the shit, and he let me work there. I got to work there with the Oh My's. I got to work there with Chance the Rapper. A lot of people I got to work there, and you know, I've helped Rick with some things, so that really built a community there. But basically, eventually, I lived at a place of my own, and it flooded, and I had no place to stay, so I moved all my shit to Rich's house, and then from there we got an apartment, and that became the Blender. And it was a 2.5 bedroom house, 2 bathrooms, one on the main floor, and it was the top floor of a complex. It was the 3rd floor and then a curved top floor like that. And we had neighbors like across the hallway, but there was a hallway, and then below us, so the studio was the top floor. It was my bedroom, and then we ran mic cables across the carpet in our own hallway and then into the other room, and that's where the mic booth was. So and that eventually became my bedroom. The booth became my bedroom, and then we just left the control room, and then Rich lived downstairs in the smaller room, and then he had his own bathroom and stuff down there. So it eventually worked out. We had a roommate for a while, which was funny. A girl named Alexandra. And that was interesting. That was really interesting. We found her off Craigslist, and I remember Rich constantly saying, "Fuck Craigslist." So that was pretty funny. But she was cool. She put up with a lot of our shit. I just remember I came home once and she blew the speakers when she was high on acid.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I came home and she's like, "What's up, bro?" Because I was walking home and I was like, "Damn, that music's loud." And it was coming from our house and all the windows were open. And I came upstairs and she was with her friends and they were like chilling, smoking cigarettes in our living room with the volume all the way up with like Atmosphere or something. And the speaker was like, and there was like air coming out from it. And I was like, okay, someone's fucking in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, so she blew those speakers.
Ouch.
And that was interesting. But yeah, but Chuck English basically moved into that place, you know, because that was the Cool Kids studio. I was their engineer. They rented the time. I had a console. I had a nice mic, a nice setup. And that's where actually Nico Segal and Greg Landfair Jr. and a lot of people from the Social Experiment and Chance's current band, which at the time was the Kids These Days band. Mm-hmm. They came over. So I was the Kids These Days engineer for a while, and we would do some work out of my house, and then I would also bring them to Rax Tracks, and I have a whole unreleased Kids These Days album, and it's amazing. It's the soulful version, like super soulful version of the one they did, I think, but it's not the same songs. It's different songs, and it's covers too, but Vic Mensa, like, sings on it, and it's unfucking believable. Like, I've never heard that dude. I had goosebumps the whole performance. I know Vic knows what I'm talking about too. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. So, and Macy and everybody, Liam, everybody killed it. Greg, and Nico, of course. But I got to record a string quartet. So I was having a blast with those guys at Rax Tracks and then at my home studio. And then I think it kind of peaked when Kid Cudi started to come over. And he came over. Asher would come over.
How did you connect with those guys? Was it like, or was it like the origins of doing Cool Kids? Was that kind of like what planted the flag? Because I know like Black Mags and When Fish Ride Bicycles, and that was a pretty like monumental time for like the underground shift, you know, like those guys kind of ran it up on MySpace. That was like the original.
Yep.
Kind of.
They were MySpace rappers essentially. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, they like kind of broke that platform in for everybody else who then came in and tried to do that same thing.
Right.
Was that like the catalyst? Because I mean, shit, for me, Chuck was a big catalyst here for just bringing a ton of new people through the door.
Yeah, shout out to Chuck. He definitely he brought Cudi to my house. He brought yeah, and the fact that he used my studio was a big, cosign. And, he could have chose anybody, but he decided to work with me and come over, and, we were all friends. So I'm so glad I lent him that Triton keyboard.
And got that one haircut?
Yeah, and got that one haircut, right? No, and his, me and Chuck used to battle beats back in the day. Not battle, but we would I would work with his roommate. Brian, what's-his-face, was his roommate, the rapper. So I would go over to his house, and Chuck would be there, and he would make 8 beats in the time I'd hang with Brian, and we'd work on one song. I mean, Chuck's work ethic was unbelievable. And that's the exact time right then when he was there was when he met Mikey. And I remember all of that. I remember the start of that and all that. And that's when Chuck hurt his foot and was chilling at home and had surgery on his foot. So that was just a really interesting time. But eventually, the studio, the Blender, kind of was infamous. And, Ray Kwan came over once, which was crazy. And, a lot of random. And this is Chicago. So you got to understand, this is not Hollywood. This is not LA.
I mean, still a major.
Absolutely. But still, when are you getting out to Chicago? You've never been to Chicago.
I've been one once, but it was a New Year's Eve trip. It wasn't literally everybody bust my balls about not going out there for years. Same thing with Toronto. A lot of the Toronto guys I've been working with for the last 8 years or every year. Hey man, when are you coming? When are you coming?
Right.
When are you coming? When are you coming? It's literally just embarrassing at this point. I have no valid reason for not, especially Chicago. Honestly, I mean, I can't really say especially it made a difference over Toronto, because both of those cities to me have been producing just absolutely beautiful music over the last, whatever it's been, 10 years that I've been 13 years, whatever, that I've been active and knowing people well enough to go travel there.
Right.
But now it's on my list again. I got to get out and see Peter. I want to see his studio. He did a big remodel there.
Yep.
And just go be there, honestly.
Oh, yeah. No, my buddy Chuck's got a good studio for you. You got to check out when you go there.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's got an SSL.
Sick.
Bro.
But yeah, so I mean so all through that process, you were producing, you were engineering.
Yep. Producing, engineering.
Were you also helping with releasing at that time? Was that part of the process? For me, my first stuff that I did in high school when I was 15, 16, I somehow got onto TuneCore and was oh cool, there's this platform I can use to distribute my music to iTunes. And
yeah,
that was the beginnings of all of that stuff. It was all pretty new.
Well, yeah, you're talking about 2011, 2012?
No, even earlier. I'm talking about for me, I recorded my first projects in 2006, and I did all that on Logic Pro and sent my shit out to
as you or as someone else, or you were recording someone else.
I produced a hip hop EP with a friend of mine from home. Yep, I rapped on. So I made 4 of the 5 beats. He had a friend he was going to school in Savannah College of Art and Design. So the kid there made one of the actually kind of the whole songs. I might have helped mix it. And then another kid from high school that I recorded was singer-songwriter who wrote probably I don't even remember at this point, maybe an 11-song album, and recorded all that stuff in the barn behind my house in Utah, and had no idea what I was doing, basically self-taught Logic. And I go back and look at those sessions, which is funny. I still have some of that stuff, and it's literally every fader thing, it's just clipping the entire time. There's no logic to literally anything. And I did that, and I sent it out to it's killing me, I can't remember this guy's name, but I found a mastering studio in Massachusetts or Maine. The guy was a pretty big deal at the time. Sent the whole thing, sent both projects to him to get professionally mastered, got CDs back, sent the CDs to a duplicator. My girlfriend at the time did the album covers, barcodes, registered everything, literally went through all of those stages at 15, 16.
Wow.
And Unfortunately, like both the guys I was working with at the time, I mean, I didn't really know much of how to navigate that at all, but I also didn't know how to like communicate or manage the expectations of like, hey, I've actually like invested quite a lot of like money and time into this, and like the only real way I know how we're going to make this back is if you go like perform and do shows, and we're going to have to figure out how to like get that to start happening, so like we can try to figure out how to sell CDs and make some money back and like repeat this process. And we just didn't have aligned visions at that time to like, see that through.
Right.
And I've always been super ambitious, so I'm sure it was probably a bit.
So wait, you were ready to go and the other person wasn't?
Yeah.
That never happens.
Yeah, I've never had
like
that happen.
You wanted
before.
to like pull the trigger and like be successful, but the other person didn't?
Yeah. No, it's weird. It's like I just never would have thought.
So I did do that for myself. Oh man, I didn't want it to get it. So I have an album out there. It's called JP Spittin' with Instruments.
Nice.
It's got Flostradamus on it.
Sick.
Yep. It's got a Blended Babies song. It's got random shit. Oh, Crescent Moon from First Ave. He's on a bunch of songs and is backs up Slug when he performs live. And that was my best friend in high school. Very talented MC. And then Ferrari's on it. My buddy Ferrari, who's actually did an album with Mos Def.
No way.
Yeah. Believe it or not. It's like, I think it's part like kind of spoken word and stuff like that. But I don't know. I've actually have not heard the whole thing. But anyways, some random characters on this project. I don't know if Chuck was on it. No, Chuck wasn't on it. But anyways, I put that out. My roommate took the picture. I held a bass guitar up to the he was on the ground, and then the Sears Tower is behind me, and I'm holding like the bass guitar. It's pretty funny, but it's chill. I got artwork done. I got posters done, and I got like 1,000 CDs or something, and I'm still trying to get rid of them bitches. I had that flood, and like I just threw away stacks of them, but it's pretty funny. So that was my first, and I made like cards. I threw a show in Minneapolis. I threw a show and we all performed, and I almost got stabbed, and it was a great show. But
just throwing that in there though.
Yeah, no, it almost happened. But it's funny enough, everybody was there but Chuck English. This was I'm not going to say when this was, but it was a long time ago. And it was at Prince's venue called The Quest in Minneapolis. I got to perform at Prince's venue. It's a huge fucking venue. And I think I sold like, what was it? Like 110 tickets?
Whoa.
No, swear to God, 110 tickets. And it was a huge place. So they didn't even barely can see. But I remember a lot of my friends supported. And it was great. Everybody came out. Shout out to Minneapolis. They like came out. It was a funny ass show. My buddy Dudley D, who's Prince's DJ. I walked in. He played my song. Right, he was the shit. Like I felt like a king. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
So I got to do that in 2003. Oh shit. And so and then I graduated college 2004. But that was the first time I had actually really tried, and I learned a lot of shit. I got it mastered too.
Yeah.
And I paid I remember my dad's being like, "Are you sure we should be paying $800 to master your project?" And I was like, "Dad, if it doesn't sound this good."
Yeah.
I was trying to convince my pops. And then he was like, "Motherfucker, work for that shit. Get a job. Serve pizzas or something." So, but yeah, so that was my first. I think you were asking, did you ever? And I did go through that with myself. And then I worked with rappers. They would pay me at my house and come through, and then I would work with rappers like I do now, and then we would both, they had some clout, I had some clout, so we would do it 50-50 and just try to put it out and stuff like that. I worked with a dude named Pugs Adams. We got a couple projects out, and so it kind of built my way up to, I had my own name, and I had my own music, but I just never really, it wasn't like now. You can't just put a song up. So it was kind of like release a single and hand it out to a couple friends,
Sure.
but our friends would listen to our friends' music. Basically, we all liked Brian. We all thought What's His Face was the shit. And he still puts out music now. He's a chef in New York, and he also worked with Action Bronson. I believe Action Bronson was actually chefing under him for a while.
Cool.
And shout out to Action Bronson too. That dude's amazing, and it was a pleasure to work with him too. Eventually down the line with the Asher Project, Paps and Jazz, which is kind of how we peaked out of Chicago. Was Paps and Jazz. That's when I looked over to Chuck at the live show for Paps and Jazz, and I think When Fish Ride Bicycles. It came out. It was the show. And it was kind of the same time. Pabst and Jazz came out the same time as When Fish Ride Bicycles. And I looked over to Chuck and I was like, bro, we're driving to LA tomorrow. That's how we told everybody. I was just like, I'm going there tomorrow. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I'm leaving Chicago. We're packing a car and we're going to LA. He's like, what? And that was 2011.
What was like the catalyst for that?
It was Rich had a girlfriend out there. No, that was one of the main reasons. But we were sitting at an Applebee's, I think after, I don't know, something happened. We had already moved out of that house, the blender. We had to get out of there for some reason. I forget why. They were raising the rent or something stupid. And so we were like, let's just get out. And I think... I was looking for a new studio. And we were eating at an Applebee's and like slamming beers. And then I was like looking frantically on the phone or something. I was trying to look for these apartments or a place to have a studio. And then I think he started dating this girl because of a Cool Kid show, because Rich was the road manager. And then I think he wanted to see her, so he brought it up. He was like, why don't we go to LA? And the truth was that LA music scene was fucking popping at the time. And I knew that, and I got really angry with him at the dinner. I got furious, and I was like, and my face got red, and he just listened, and I was like, you know how many clients I have here? You know how much money I can make here? And you're saying you want to jump ship and da-da-da and fucking... And I was pissed. And then I went to the bathroom. And I came back. And I was like, when do you want to go? I swear to God. That's quick. Exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
And he was like, are you okay? And I said, let's do it. So that was it. And then we looked at plane tickets the next day. And then at my friend's house, which I was staying, shout out to Ike and Mike and Ike. And then Mike was like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm looking at plane tickets. And he's like, and he slams the laptop closed. And he's like, what are you fucking doing? I have a fucking Ford Taurus out back. Just take that. And I was like, okay. And he's like, it needs new brakes, about $400, but you should take that. And then I took it in, and thank God the guy fixed something, and then, which was actually a quick fix. And then I was like, will you take this car around the block? We're going to drive it to California. And he laughed at us. He was like, what? You're going to do what? So he took it around the block, and he said he slammed on the brakes, and he goes, thank God it snapped. One of the brakes snapped. And he goes, thank God it did, because you wouldn't want that to happen in Utah when you're on the fucking mountains.
Yeah, totally.
So he put new brakes on it, and we were golden. And we took that thing all the way to LA, 3-day trip. We stopped in Red Rocks. We saw Kid Cudi live at the Red Rocks.
Cool.
And I got to sit right at front of house. And it was amazing. It was honestly amazing. And all the people we were with were on ecstasy. I found out later. That was cool. It was an EDM festival. There was a weird guy dancing next to me. I didn't want him dancing next to me. So it was an interesting situation. And they played our song. Cudi played our song as he was walking off the stage. So he didn't perform it or anything. But
that was the closer.
Yeah, that was the closer. It's called The End. And then the funny thing about that, though, is I actually have a song with Cudi that's unreleased called The Christmas Song. And it's unbelievable.
Huh.
And you guys may hear it someday.
Cool.
But anyways, it's awesome. And it was supposed to go on Man on the Moon 1. And I think it was partly my fault because I didn't know what the sample was. And he wanted to clear the sample. And I was scrambling to find out what it was. And it was Zombie. It was a sample from Zombie, the group from, I'll never forget this, from Dawn of the Dead, the old version, like 1979 version. Yeah, I watch zombie movies. And I sampled a part on there, and it was literally like, so he couldn't clear the sample, so he wouldn't put it on the project. But it's awesome. It's me, Chuck, and Kid Cudi. It's called The Christmas Story, or The Christmas Song.
Cool.
It's awesome. I'll play it for you sometime.
Sweet. So then at that point, I'm sure we probably skipped a lot of Chicago, but we could probably talk about that for a fucking long time. I mean, I know you're doing the Kids These Days album, and then was linking with, how'd you link with them? Was that originally through something with Chuck, or because what was like the cross between linking to Kids These Days and Chance and like having stuff was like the track on Acid Rap was when you guys were already in LA, or that was something that you guys worked on when you were in LA. Chicago? Okay.
Even 10 Day, we're on 10 Day too, and that was LA as well. Actually, I recorded that in my first apartment in LA. But I think I was introduced to Nico, I want to say.
Through Chuck? Or before Chuck?
Might have been. Oh, no, because I met the Omais later. The Omais were last, but I met, I think I met Vic. And Demo was their manager. I know Demo. So I knew Demo, but Demo was their manager later. So I don't know. I think it was Vic and Nico is who I met first. Maybe it might even have been at a rehearsal space that I worked at. But I met them, and then they started working with me, and we started kind of jamming together, and they saw how naturally I was the first person to ever record Nico. He had never been recorded, which I was like, what? You're this fucking talented? And he's like, I'm like, all right, sorry, I didn't know, you know? But, and then me, Nico, and Vic did a song called Clear Eyes, which there's a stop motion video to. It's fucking awesome.
Cool.
And that's the song about Vic getting shocked and almost killed at Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
For hopping the fence.
Yeah.
That's what Clear Eyes is about. But I met those guys, and we started making songs right away. And the funny thing is, they were so cool with me. Actually, I'm like honored they would let me play beats, and then they would just like fill the beats in, you know. So that happened a lot. And then I actually Chance would come over to our house for the sessions with the kids these days and stuff, and he would sit on the couch and like talk to us, and he would come upstairs and just be polite in the back of the room. And then one time I had a session at Rax Tracks it's that session where we were doing like the soul version of that album, and Chance was there like the whole time, and I didn't fully know who Chance was at that point. Nobody did, and I just knew there was this like talented guy always rapping in the room. And so like day 4 of the recordings, and I was supposed to do all the rough mixes, and Vic would stop me every couple minutes and be like, can you and I'd be like, oh, all right, we got to print this again, guys. Right. So that happened a lot. And then finally I was trying to mix, and Chance was like right up on the console where I was, and he's just like da 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 da. And I stopped and I looked over, and I'm like, yo, that sounds really good. Can you go in the hallway? And he's like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. So I actually kicked Chance out of the studio.
Dick.
Such a dick. But Chance was so nice, too. He's like, I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. And then as he's walking away, the door's closing. It was like, ba-da-ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. Literally. Like, the door was like hitting his foot on the way. It was so funny. But yeah, no, Chance always humble. And then out here in LA, Chance was staying at Chuck's house on the couch, which was my buddy Izzo's house too, and shout out to Lampert's house too. And as I went to Lampert's house to grab something from them, on my way out, Chance was like grabbing my shirt, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, going home. He's like, "Can me and Vic come over right now?" And actually, Suleiman, can me, Vic, and Suli come over? And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "We don't have any speakers," because we didn't have any speakers at the time. So funny. And I had all the equipment. I had a U87. I had a nice converter, everything. No speakers. So funny. So the guys come over, and we play them the beat, and we like give them headphones, and they're listening, you know. But I played them the song we were working on called I forget what the beat was called, but they all 3 rappers came over, and we set up the mic in the kitchen. I think the window was open. The neighborhood was super loud. It was kind of hood. And we recorded the song Family for 10 Day. And I remember Chance putting down the headphones, and he's looking at all of us, and he goes, "Guys, I got to tell you something. I'm taking this song." Literally. And he smiles, and we're like, and he goes, "I'm taking the song. If it's okay with you guys, I'm taking the song. I'm taking the song. It fits so good on 10 Day, my project. You guys don't know what this is yet, but I'm sure Vic did, but
yeah."
And that's what he said. And I you know what? I learned from that moment, if you want something, you got to fucking take it right away. You got to let everybody know that's your shit. Like when you're working on a song, because I've done this a million times. But the way Chance just was like, he knew. And he was like, but his confidence level, it wasn't like he was being a dick at all. He was like, "I'm taking this song. And I know you guys know it's right for my project," is basically what he was saying. So really cool. That was really cool, and that was just a memorable moment. And then from that point, skip forward to Acid Rap, and I've been keeping in touch with Chance, over the year. It's a year later, I think. Acid Rap came out like a year later, and I think we had gotten a placement on Ab's Soul album with the Oh My's at that point. We have a song called These Days. It's a hidden track on shout out to Like. It's the second half of Just Have Fun, actually. So if you find the hidden track there, produce that.
Yeah, it was a great song.
Yeah, it's awesome. And Like's song is amazing. It's actually funny. I'm like, we're friends and we have the same song. But fast forward to Acid Rap, and funny story. Pat and Chance come over, and they're hanging out at my house, and Chance like, "You can play me some beats." I was just hanging with Ab Soul, and I was on acid for like 9 days. I was like, okay.
Whoa.
All right. So, and I'd heard stories about them hanging out and all that. So, he comes over and he's like, "So I'm kind of hungry." All right. And Pat's like, "We go get some food." I'm like, "Yeah, I got a car. Let's go get some food." He's like, "Let's go to Taco Bell." Chance says that. I'm like, all right. I'm thinking I don't normally. Okay, sure. You want to go to Taco Bell? Go off, get some Doritos or get some chips or something, right? Because I don't normally eat that, right?
Yeah.
We go back, I was like, cool, just food, and now let's make some music. So we start playing them beats, right? I go through like 30 beats or something like that, right? And he likes a bunch of them, but he's like, "Not what I'm looking for." I don't even know what he's looking for. He won't even tell me, right? He didn't tell me specifically, but it was just me and Chance just sitting in a room, and then I think Pat left or something. So a couple hours later, I don't know, 4 hours later or something, Chance like, "I'm hungry," right? He's like, "Let's go to Taco Bell." And I start laughing, like uncontrollably. And I'm basically, he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "You want to go to Taco Bell again?" So basically he was definitely serious, but I thought it was a joke. Like, why would you want to go to Taco Bell two times? Yeah, in like 4 hours. But he wanted to go. It wasn't that funny. I don't know. There's my story. But anyways, I played him, I don't know, 200 beats, And then finally he goes, "Jay, can I just flip through your beats?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but you," and he goes, "Just let me flip through them." I'm like, okay. He's just going. I swear he found it in like the 4th beat. and it's probably because the name. The beat's called Chingy Mungy, and I don't know. But anyways, I think he found that. He played it, and right away, he just da 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 da, and then it became, Smoke Again. And then me and him sat there for hours, and he recorded it verse, stanza by stanza, like phrase by phrase. And then he was done, and he's bumping it like nonstop, just repeating. He's just jumping around my house, my studio, and then finally he goes, "Can I use your computer to record a video?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he performs acid rap right after we recorded it in my studio. You can see me in the background, like fucking with shit. And I swear to God, it got like 100,000 views right now. And like just randomly, you can look it up. It's like acid rap, Chance performing it live on the, computer or something. So, but that was pretty interesting that he did that. And that's how we got acid rap. I swear it took 2 days though. Because we played beats. He slept over. I'm pretty sure he slept over, and he came right back. He woke up, and then we just started again. And then he eventually found Smoke Again, and we did that. And we did some other songs too. I have a bunch of unreleased Chants as well, that are amazing stuff. I mean, I'm sure he would love it if you finished it. He would love it. But so that's kind of how that came about. And then shortly after that, we were signed to Sony, ATV, and then for a co-publishing deal. And then I would say one of the best things that Evan Bogart, the guy who signed me, did for me was plug me with Anderson .Paak. And I had a bunch of sessions with him. I'm talking maybe 7 or 8. And on the 8th session is the day that Breezy Lovejoy, is what Anderson's name was at the time, tells me he plays fucking drums. And I'm like, dude, there's been a drum set you didn't tell me? Listen to what Anderson .Paak says to me. He goes, "Bro, your beats were so good, I didn't want to." I said, "What, dude?" He said, "Bro, your beats are so good, I'm not going to play on your beats." So he was that humble. Literally, I couldn't believe that. So that was a really cool moment.
Yeah,
to awesome. Have with Anderson. We clicked so well. I had a session with Anderson and Rush.
Cool.
And they were like going back and forth on it. That's when we recorded "Make It Work" with Asher.
Yeah, I love that song, man.
I love it too. That's probably one of the best songs I ever made. And Rami did the keys on that one, actually.
Nice. Good group.
Yeah, it's Rami, me, Anderson, and Nico Segal.
Yeah,
and Asher.
Great all-star team right there.
It's fun. So we kind of build up, and I played records for A&Rs for years. One record we got placed through an A&R. I wrote a song with Mark E. Basie. Who's an artist now, and he's great artist. And then I knew him as Mark Griffin. And me and him wrote Guardian Angel for Alan Stone.
Cool.
And we wrote it at Capitol Records, not in the big studio. We wrote it like upstairs in a room that had studio equipment. But it was interesting. It was cool. We smoked weed on the outside of Capitol Records.
Crazy.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Shout out to Mark E. Basie. He's one of the most talented artists, R&B artists out there right now.
And now it's just endlessly making music.
Terrible.
And making music and making music. No,
Yep.
As far as like what you got going on.
No, it's just making music. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet, man. Well, how you feeling?
Hot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think this was great.
Good talk, Nick.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Cool.
I'm sure we'll probably end up having more episodes as time goes on, but I feel like that accomplished a ton.
For sure. And I don't know if that's what you want or.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's probably.
We turn the air on.
Yeah, there's more that I would probably want to go through, but I'm sure this one's fairly long, and just for the sake of
taking
a break.
Editing
it? No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My plan right now is literally just to make like the conversation something that can be like captured. And, you know, I mean, if somebody said something like, hey, I really don't want this, I said this, now I'm thinking about this, like, I'll send you this, you could check it out. If there was something you really didn't want, I'd edit it out. But the goal is to just literally just like press stop, upload the file, you know, like for me, that's what I want this to be. You know, I just want this to be something that's like very stress-free and just like enjoyable for me, you know, like I love these conversations. It's fun. Like I get to learn a lot of stuff, you know, learned a lot of stuff about you. I had no idea about like I honestly enjoyed that a lot. So for me, that's dude. Like mission accomplished.
I'm glad to help you. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for caring enough to want to even hear all this shit.
Yeah, of course, man. That was killer. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Hope I was entertaining enough.
Yeah, that was great.